Transfers always take a while, especially at Leeds United. We like to do our things on deadline day. I mean, we don't like to, we're just occasionally forced to. And whilst the window isn't even open yet until Friday the 14th of June, it might be for you, depending on when you're watching this, Leeds might need to wait a little bit longer than even that to complete some key signings. And that is because of how many different Premier League clubs actually operate nowadays. Not something that we can really help, not something that we can avoid, but something we need to be aware of. Basically, Leeds United need to be patient when it comes to completing the Alfie Gilchrist move that we're all looking at and hoping we complete from Chelsea. But first, subscribe. I'll dive into everything in a moment, but it's massively appreciated. Yeah, cheers. Anyway, what is the Alfie Gilchrist story? Let's dive into it. Chelsea's Alfie Gilchrist is set for a loan move to the Championship. You can tell it's early in the morning, can't you? At some point this summer. Basically, he plays at both centre-back and right-back. He's really basically highly versatile in two of the roles that we quite badly need to get this summer, so I can see us looking at him and going, oh, very nice, let's sign him. But basically, considering what his roles are and the club that he's at, it's very, very tricky for him to break into the first 11. At right-back, he's behind the likes of Reece James. At centre-back, he's got young centre-back after young centre-back after young centre-back that Chelsea just keep on signing and not using properly. So he's not really likely to get a starting berth in that squad this season, which means that in order to get the football that he needs to develop fully, he's likely to be looking at a loan at some point this season. And there are plenty of interested clubs in him, including Leeds United, Preston North End, and Blackburn Rovers. Basically, move to the Championship up north, looks how things are going to be for him at the moment. And you'd think we'd like to complete this as soon as possible, and from a Leeds United perspective, I'm sure we would. Get a little bit of certainty in the squad, make sure that he's got a full pre-season with us, but we may have to wait. In a quote from Ben Jacobs on the Just Your Football show last night, actually, very good show, hop over to watch it, he said that sometimes clubs like Chelsea want to take the player over to pre-season first. Now, this includes their pre-seasons over in America, over in Asia, not really Africa, weirdly, although occasionally you'll see one in South Africa. The Middle East, definitely. But basically, there are a few reasons that they do this. First, to know whether they actually want to lose the player. After being away for summer, you might have a different way of assessing your players and think, actually, you're better than I thought you were, or you're significantly worse than we expected going into the pre-season. So you can get an idea of whether or not a club actually wants to loan out a player by taking them on pre-season. Add on to that, it establishes their value a little bit better. So if you were going to sell a player, rather than doing it right at the start of the transfer window, you can give it a couple of weeks, say, okay, we'll still do a deal with you, but if they impress in pre-season, we'll add another $1 million to the price tag. Completely within the rights of that football club, but annoying to loaning and buying sides. This is especially important when it comes to having a new manager, which Chelsea do at the moment. They signed Enzo Maresca for reasons, I guess. So we are expected to need to wait until late July or early August. Another benefit of them taking young players abroad means that basically they get to rest their senior players whilst they're on their own little pre-season trips. Although they're more likely to be at the Euros, so maybe it's to give them a full squad whilst they're playing friendlies against absolute nobodies in MLS. I don't know. But what exactly could this mean for Leeds United? We don't, from our perspective, give that much of a shit about Chelsea and what this move does to affect them and why they're holding him back. All we care about is how it affects Leeds United in this situation. And there is the first very, very unfortunate opener, and that is the fact that it limits his time in pre-season with Leeds United. One of the problems that we had at Leeds last summer was that Daniel Farke came in incredibly late and we weren't certain about the squad. That meant that not everyone got a full pre-season, and although one or two players can miss a full pre-season, that's completely fine. You can adapt around it. They're still not going to be in the best position possible to be starting the season. If we were to sign Alfie Gilchrist and he were to miss until mid-August, for example, that's basically the start of the season. That's very little training, tactical work in which he can build into becoming a full-blown member of the squad. And add on to that the fact that it can make the battle to complete the signing a little bit more complicated. As you go on, as signings get sort of eaten up and people's targets are no longer available, they're going to be looking around to who else they can possibly sign. And in the event that an Alfie Gilchrist is still on the market in August, If someone has missed other Premier League loan signings, say a Gerald Quansah might want to make a move, then more and more clubs can become interested, and that can make the signing a little bit more difficult, a little bit more expensive, and things can turn into more of a battle for the player's interest. In theory, you can get a pre-agreement done where you agree something by the time the transfer window opens and just say, all right, we'll just have him in a month. Whether that's the practice or not, I'll be honest, I don't entirely know. Makes things a little bit difficult. Add on to that, it can be off-putting for some managers. Some managers that want a lot of time with their prospective players. I've got a hiccup just hiding and it's not coming up, and that's great fun. Can be off-put on some of these players, so maybe Daniel Farke might not be as interested in Gilchrist after this, in the event that he's not able to sign him, which is spooky, because he's clearly a good player, but I feel like we still will. Farke's got a little bit of patience, we'll find out. And whilst we will probably get our man, basically, it's not ideal for season prep. And it can affect some other moves as well. Not necessarily specifically our situation with Alfie Gilchrist will affect other moves, but the manager market has been wild this summer. There have been managers moving and staying at the last minute, and they will need to keep an eye on their squads a little bit more to be like, right, okay, so we need to settle down our tactics. And that means taking more and more youngsters on these pre-season tours. So we can expect to see plenty of delays, and that pairs up with the fact that we've got the Euros and we've got Copa America going on at the same time, with players a little bit more reluctant to make moves whilst those are going on. So in my opinion, I think we can expect to see an annoyingly late summer. I'd love us to get moves done like that as soon as possible. But whether that's actually doable is something that we will be finding out in the next weeks and months. But I do want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I'm not going to end the video just yet. I'm just going to quickly close out with a bit of a thank you. Not to someone that watches the videos, but to someone that sort of helped to inspire them. Basically, Phil Hay is no longer going to be writing for Leeds United. He's been promoted to doing the Athletics Global newsletter, which is a big step up. Congrats. But at the same time, it's a big shame for Leeds because he'd become such a big part of Leeds United's culture. Any news, Phil, he'd be the first to drop transfer updates, and you know that when he tweeted something out, it would be as reliable as possible. And it's a little bit of a shame that he has to go. But basically, he helped to inspire me to get into football writing, which is what spun out into football video creation, which spun out into my previous channel, which spun out into this channel. And here we are. And I don't think I would be doing this without Phil Hay doing what he did and helping to reignite my passion for football. Yeah. Cheers, Phil. Either way, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Maybe we can sign Phil Hay as a centre-back. Wonder if he's any good at that. Wouldn't be too bad.